Our goal today is to report back to you on how 3+ performed over the last year in terms of meeting the commitments that we promised you at the beginning of the year. When I look back over the past year, which was extremely busy for 3+'s board and staff, I think of how much our organization has changed. And I'm reminded of one of Bill Gates' quotes that says, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And I'm sure many of us will never be able to read the cards and the tea leaves as Bill Gates does. However, I do know for sure that Greater Moncton has recreated its regional economic development organization into a model which will support Greater Moncton's continued growth. We talk a lot about how the keen sense of team distinguishes Moncton as a place to make things happen. It has been said that great teams share a common set of values and behaviors, in other words, a culture. I would suggest that Greater Moncton's culture has been the foundation of the region's successes over the years and will continue to support us going forward. And based on my experience as a member of Enterprise Greater Moncton's now 3+'s board, and particularly during the last year, I've observed and appreciated Team Greater Moncton's culture. It's about a shared value of building strong relationships, and more importantly, the commitment to maintain these relationships in challenging times. It's recognizing and mobilizing opportunities to collaborate. It's respecting the unique value each team member brings to the team. It represents a high level of commitment and a collective willingness to go the extra mile, and also a clear understanding and agreement about the team's goals. I have found out during the last few years that while we might not always like one another, and we might find ourselves in competitive situations, these realities are most often trumped by the recognition that if one wins, we all win. Collaboration is something that must continue to be top of mind for all of us. Our region's remarkable ability to win when competing with much larger national and international communities depends on our willingness and our ability to represent and present a common front. And I might add, the current economic situation of our province and beyond makes it imperative that all our agencies involved in business development in our region avoid duplicating any efforts that can be more effectively and efficiently completed by others. There are things that a regional agency like 3+ will be able to do better and more efficiently, and there are many other agencies that 3+ will depend on to support our efforts. This all has to be sorted out. Despite the significant effort spent by many people and agencies to restructure 3+, this work is not yet completed. 3+ still requires considerable attention, commitment, and support from all of you over the next few years. In order to reach the level of maturity and the efficiency required to meet the emerging challenges confronting economic development in our area and the province. 3+ has to be able to demonstrate its value in concrete metrics that are driven by the organization's mandate and strategic plans. And it has to focus its effort on what makes a difference, most specifically on what creates jobs. I believe one of the remaining and major pieces of work is exploring with 3+'s funding partners, the municipalities and the STRAP partners, a means of securing funding for greater than a one-year period. The current situation of funding a month or two and finding out a month or two before the year starts that we've received funding creates limitations on our strategic planning and is a source of avoidable uncertainty for the organization. But I believe 3+ has to continue to work with our funding partners to consistently demonstrate our contribution to regional economic development and to provide evidence of a strong return on investment. This also means our funding partners have to trust that 3+ will be an essential and valued member of the Greater Moncton's economic development team for more than just the next year. Every one of you in this room should be applauded for your interest and your support of regional economic development for Greater Moncton, and I encourage you to remain engaged. Moncton has been and continues to be the leader in economic development and regional prosperity in the province, and this didn't result because of some happenstance. The success of the region is secured by that can-do attitude and a strong sense that it takes the business community, all levels of government, and many other forces working together to ensure prosperity, and also to Moncton and our surrounding areas. This idea of surrounding areas is an interesting perspective. It is noteworthy that Greater Moncton's success contributes to the growth of many other communities in Albert, Westmoreland, and Kent. A study completed within the last 2 years reported that 10 of the 12 communities located within a 1-hour radius of Moncton experienced population growth up to as much as 10%. Thank you. Most of them realized increased tax revenues increases, and there's better economic conditions overall. If you excuse me, I gotta take a drink here. The lesson here is that not only do the 3 Greater Moncton communities benefit from working together and enjoying successes that would be much more difficult to obtain if we were doing it on our own or trying to do each of us on our own, this success is also benefiting our neighbors. And all of this success depends on people. There are many people I would like to thank for the support provided over the last couple of years to 3+. It just would take too long to thank each of you individually, so I'm going to do it in groups. I would like to thank Robert Irving and the other 7 well-respected senior business leaders, Larry Nelson, Brent Scrimshaw, David Holt, Renee Collette, Susan Hicks, Dave McFadgen, and Scott Lewis, who's the Chamber of Commerce Chair, and the mayors. These ELC members provide wise counsel, and they help us build a strong foundation. They helped us define strategy, best practices, and outcomes, and they'll continue to do the same going forward. The 3 mayors and their councils who recognize the value of regional economic aid, the agency, and who demonstrated their faith in our ability to restructure the organization and who continue to provide funding, thank you. And on a personal note, I would like to make a special call out to the mayors, who were always great listeners and good friends, who never failed to give me the support and encouragement I needed and allowed me lots and lots of time to rant. Our community is very lucky to have such competent leaders who work very hard with many agencies, including 3+, to ensure Greater Moncton is the best place to live and do business in North America. I would also like to thank our strategic partners who endorsed our new model and have continued to financially support 3+. We couldn't do it without you. And my board colleagues, I have always gone the extra mile over the last 2 years. Each brought their own unique competencies, creativity, loads of energy, and commitment. It has been a pleasure to work alongside this special group. I'm leaving 3+ feeling very confident that the organization is in very good hands with the 6 old and seasoned board members and a new group of 7, all of whom are highly competent individuals and great ambassadors for Greater Moncton. It is said that the quality of an organization can be predicted by the type of board members it is able to recruit. I feel very confident in telling you that after this year's recruitment exercise, 3+ has a very bright future in terms of board governance. Finally, I would like to thank Ben Shampoo and 3+'s staff. Ben is a leader with incredible networking and communication skills. He also has a very creative mind and a willingness to try different approaches. These are the very leadership characteristics that 3+ needs at this point in its development. With the exception of a few individuals, most of 3+'s staff have joined the organization during the last 6 months. They arrived as the organization was being restructured, the office was being renovated, and there were at least 1 million things on their work plan to do. Despite this hectic pace, the newness of the job, and all the challenges of an organization undergoing significant change, the new staff have stepped up to the plate and tackled all the tough stuff. I also want to recognize the staff who have been with our organization for several years and decided to stay. I know how well you cope with all the changes, and we really appreciate the extent of your effort to mentor the new staff. And to all of you, on behalf of the board, I would like to acknowledge our appreciation for your efforts and your commitment to 3+. I'm now going to provide the first part of our report card. It simply means it's a way of reporting to you, our shareholders and our stakeholders, what we have done in the last year. These are not outcome metrics, but that's our goal, to move from activity reporting to outcomes reporting. And we're there, and you'll soon be receiving outcome metrics on a regular basis. Today, I will share what we did, the major milestones we have reached, and hopefully to reassure you that we have a strong regional economic development organization ready and able to work collaboratively with the business community and other economic development agencies. And after hearing about these activities and outcomes of the last year, I suspect you will believe, as I do, that 3+ is well positioned to do exactly what Robert Irving has instructed me to do several times over the year, just get her done. So we'll do that, Robert. So this is ahead of you. It's a quick recap of our year in progress. In June of 2013, which was a year ago, we established the foundation for the new EGM. We had ad hoc committees. We looked at a lot of best practices of other organizations across the country who were doing economic development. We created a new governance model, at that point, just very quickly, we have an Economic Leadership Council, which are the senior business leaders in the community, the Chamber of Commerce and the 3+ chair and the 3 mayors. And that group is an advisory group. It advises the directors. The directors are still responsible to manage the affairs of the organization through their CEO. And then we created a stakeholder network, and we did a lot of stakeholder networking to get feedback and find out where we should be going and what it should look like. We also increased the amount of effort we'd put into getting funding from the business community, because we want this to be a business model. We want the business community to own this organization, and also because it's regional. And also we need to be able to network effectively and to create sectors which will allow us to get information back and forth and help growth within each of those sectors, identify and work on the opportunities that are close at hand and that we can secure. We also secured a significant amount of transition funding from the Department of Economic Development, and we did a lot of policy development, revised some financial reporting, and we also had a communication plan. So that was sort of in that June area. And then in November, we hired Ben, our new CEO, and that was after a fairly aggressive effort of identifying the competencies we needed going forward and making sure that we made the best choice who would fit inside that mold that we knew that we needed. And then in the winter and spring, in January, many of you will remember we had our economic summit. Coming out of that, got great direction from the business community in terms of where we should be going, and also made a lot of new connections with younger people, which were also very helpful. We started the rebranding of the organization, and we were working with Bill Whalen and his team at Hawk Communications. We had a restructuring of our strategic partnership, started that work. And then we started out to create our transition board, and it became a competency-based board. We actually identified certain competencies that we required in our board in order to direct the organization as we wanted it to be, and who could advise us accordingly. And I once again reach out to the mayors to say thank you very much, because when we went to you and said these are the competencies that we need, you certainly gave us your very best and the people who fit all those competencies, so that we've really accomplished that goal well. We also, the mayors developed a new funding formula, just distribution of how much each pays based on certain criteria. And we had our targets were established, and the ELC helped us come up with what it was we had to have in targets and what would an ROI look like for a municipality. And also core services were established. And then in June of this year, at our annual meeting, we had a new board of directors that were initiated, I guess, or sworn in or committed. We had new bylaws which were approved, and we had launch of our 3+ brand, and we had a new organizational structure that was approved. Having said that, one of the, Ben is going to come up right now and replace me here and talk to you about the organizational structure, what it looks like, what it means, and how the role for everybody to sort of interact with the organization, and the fact that we really truly want to be transparent and we want to be connected. So that in order to do that, we have to have a willingness on both sides to communicate. So thank you very much.